Hey cyclists, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are doing our April bullet journal plan with me video. Now, my theme for April is a little bit strange, and I didn't really have like a specific idea going into it. I was mostly inspired by these colors of acrylic paint that I had at my house, and I decided I wanted to sort of base a theme off of that. So what I ended up going with was sort of this like pastel-y space theme of sorts, and then there's like a woman in the middle who's sort of like channeling the planets or whatever. I kind of was looking at, as I said, April was kind of like harder for me to find a specific theme that I wanted to do. I was kind of lacking inspiration specifically, so I was sort of just like, let's just get out the paint and see what I come up with. But because of that too, I had to wait a while for the paint to dry before I could move on to the next pages. So as you'll see, the location ends up changing a little bit later on in the setup. But I sort of wanted to mimic the like watercolors, but I didn't have any like watercolor paints, so I just used acrylic paint and used a lot of water. Because of that, I kind of ended up having to do a lot more coats off screen. I figured it wouldn't be as exciting for you guys to just see me continuously paint over the same thing I've already painted. But I had to do a lot of coats off screen, but I think it ultimately turned out really cool, and I ended up liking it, even though it was more of a little bit of an impromptu theme. I was also kind of having trouble, as you'll see later on in the setup, because I was trying to decide how much I wanted to outline this painting and drawing with like pen or like, black outline. And I tried to do it, and I realized that I was using Sharpie, and it kind of ended up bleeding through, but that's nothing that a little bit of white paint couldn't fix on the other side, the bleeding through. But now I'm just going, and I decided to make her hair like this extra long, huge, like wavy, purpley section. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like a mountain sort of, with like all these like different suns or things looking over it. I don't know. But yeah, I ended up using multiple different paint brushes and just kind of going through that and everything. And I also realized at the time of editing this that I forgot to show me painting the planets on the other side of the spread, because the spread that is right next to the cover page is a new spread, a new addition to my theme. Basically, if you've been a long-time viewer of this channel, you'll know that I like to do a habit tracker where I track all different types of stuff, and normally I track my workouts, but these past couple months I've been trying to do more elaborate workouts. I've been doing longer workouts with some friends, so I figured that I wanted a spread to specifically track my progress on that, with just the days of the week that we normally go, and then I can write down a little bit of a description of like what we worked on that day, how much I've improved, any sort of timestamps or goals that I have for next time that I want to remember, and I'm really excited to try this out and use this spread, because I think that it'll really help me in terms of motivation and everything. I also later on ended up adding some little details to the planets and her hair, which you'll see a little bit later. I ended up letting that dry for a bit. Like I said, I painted in the planets, and now we are on to my habit tracker and my playlist spread. So I decided to sort of keep with the theme, or just the colors, and instead of continuing to draw the planets all the time, I figured that I would paint the outer edges of this spread all purple. So for my habit tracker, it's like more of a square, so it's literally just like the top and bottom are just sort of like rectangular purple. But then I thought for my playlist to sort of keep with like the planety theme, I'd make it more circular. And so I'm just sort of like roughly painting it. I was really nervous because I ended up, as you might have noticed, switching to a different place to continue filming, and it ended up being on carpet, so I was a little nervous. And I do recommend, if you're trying to recreate this or mainly doing any sort of painting, to put something down under it, just in case you spill the paint or something splatters. And I did end up, after finishing this, realizing that I got a little bit of paint on some of my other pages, but again, that's nothing that a little bit of white paint couldn't fix going in there. So now I'm just sort of outlining my box for my habit tracker. Habits I normally track are my steps, my period, the meals I'm eating, and my budget. And like I said, I've moved my workout to the other spread, but that would normally have been included there. Now we're onto the page though, and I'm going to be doing my 2 lines a day spread. This one I had an idea to maybe make like every individual line a different color, but after putting down the purple, I realized that it was going to be way too time consuming, and it was also going to not be very even with the brushes that I was using. It was going to take forever. So I decided to just continue over the purple from the other page on the bottom and top of it, and added one extra line at the bottom. This is just an example of some little ways to fix some mistakes. I feel like this theme, I ended up making a lot of different mistakes, but I found ways to sort of fix them and make them look a little bit better than they otherwise would have. So I'm happy about that. And because I didn't want it to look exactly like the habit tracker and playlist spreads, I decided that I was going to do purple on top, I was going to put the blue paint at the bottom, and then I was going to have gray be sort of like the outlining things. And it definitely looks different. I don't know, honestly, which I prefer more or not. I kind of wish that I had went maybe with just like the blue all for this page, so at least it would have been consistent. But I think I was a little thrown off because my original idea wasn't working, so I decided to pivot quickly, and I didn't really have a plan. Which, that's the other thing I recommend. Bullet journaling is such a cool medium and is so much fun. And so everybody has their own ways of doing it. But for me, I feel like I always enjoy my spreads more when I have them planned out or have sort of an idea of what I'm doing before I go into it. I think also, too, having done a bunch of videos now since, November on this channel, I think that I've realized that, like, filming kind of adds a little bit of a pressure when you're doing it because, one, you don't want to take up more, like, time or space on your phone or camera when you're recording, but also because, if you make a mistake, it's caught on camera and you're going to have to, like, deal with that and either edit it out or, as I like to do, just kind of leave it in and show all of my mistakes. I also didn't center my 2 lines a day. I think I was just really flustered with this, so I decided to add March of 2023 on the other side to sort of balance it out a bit, and I'm just drawing in the rest of the lines for it. If you don't know what a 2 lines a day spread is, I don't think I even described it. It's basically just a space where you can write, 2 lines of your bullet journal, what you ended up doing that day. And I think it's just a great, memory keep. I used to do individual weekly spreads where I would put my to-do lists as well as what I did that day, but I feel like it's gotten more clustered, and recently I've been doing a lot more, planning and to-do lists on my phone, so I just didn't see a need to put it in my journal. But now we are on to the final flip through, and you can see some of the changes that I ended up doing off camera to the planets and to her hair. I really liked how it ended up coming out, even though it wasn't really what I intended, and it wasn't really planned out. But I love the color combination, and I'm excited to use my journal this month.